Hello again and welcome back. Today we're discussing reincarnation and the concept of samsara overall. Now, for a basic understanding, samsara is the idea that souls or the individuals are going through a very vicious cycle of birth and life, then rebirth. The individual lives and gets reincarnated every time into this never ending wheel of birth and rebirth. And the vicious cycle of samsara never ends until the individual becomes better, depending on each one of the major Indian religions: Hinduism, Buddhism, and Jainism. In Hinduism, the self experiences samsara eternally until the individual reaches mushka, which is basically liberation oneself. And how does the individual reach that in Hinduism? It reaches that by various meditation techniques, but the overall goal is renouncing ego and the material world and embracing the spirit of Brahman that is supposed in Hinduism that all spirits and souls stem from it. Therefore, by ending one's ignorance, one knows the reality of the spiritual world, renounces materialism, and unites at the end, breaking the cycle, the vicious cycle which is samsara, and uniting with the divine spirit or the divine consciousness, Brahman. And in Buddhism, samsara is actually quite different. Samsara occurs, but not for the individual himself, but rather for energy, for consciousness. Life in Buddhism is suffering, and since the individual is represented by consciousness, consciousness simply ceases to exist by dying, but gets again reincarnated and be in another person. Consciousness is never actually ceases to exist. It dies and gets reincarnated in a very vicious, painful wheel of reincarnation. And how does the individual breaks the cycle in Buddhism? He breaks it by reaching nirvana, a state of ending desire, which is proclaimed to be the very source of suffering, ending ego and vanquishing ignorance. The individual reaching nirvana, conquering ego and conquering his desire, he conquers suffering. He finally reaches peace as he lives and he is no longer suffering. Well, at least in his lifetime. Whether somebody else desires to stop his own suffering, he must also reach nirvana himself personally. So at the end of reaching nirvana and breaking the cycle, there are no gods in Buddhism. One simply reach eternal peace. And in the third major Indian religion, Jainism, samsara in Jainism actually occurs in the level of the individual, not like in Buddhism in the level of consciousness or energy as a force. It occurs in the level of the individual or the self, and the individual personally must reach a state of right faith, believing in the spiritual world and that he himself is a soul dwelling in a body. Right knowledge, just knowing that there is a difference between his physical existence and his eternal spiritual existence, and believing in karma as being the moral law that binds humans to do good rather than that they will be punished in the future, and basically right conduct, which is simply non-violence, detachment from the material world, discipline, and chastity. Once those things are actually reached by the character desiring liberation from samsara, the soul becomes unhindered by the body or by physical fetters and raises to siddhasila. I don't know if I said that correctly, but anyway, it refers to the top of the universe, a state of observation and remaining in an infinite, peaceful, eternal state. But anyway, we do not really care about those things, do we? What we care about as skeptics is whether this whole samsara thing and the reincarnation within it is actually true. Does it actually happen in reality? Well, as we have discussed before, that the self is a mixture of genetics and memories. The individual is simply a set of unique genetics and a set of unique experiences that gives rise to his character or his personhood. Okay? In those religious faiths we have talked about, the self is actually grounded in a non-physical entity, an entity or a being beyond matter We are just souls using this body. And upon death, once reincarnation happens again, because it has been always happening, your soul simply goes to another body to experience another life. And basically, if you were very a very unmoral person in your past life, you get reincarnated in a very unsuitable type of painful physical existence. I'm not gonna start with my evidence or my arguments against the whole existence of souls or spirits. I have already a video about that. But being a materialist, following the only things that we have a basis of, the only things that we can prove or test to be either false or correct. We are the nervous system that is quite different from one another because of the DNA, because of the change and the uniqueness of each one's DNA. And once we are brains, once we exist as brains, we start interacting with reality, with the world around us. And we start gaining experiences, and those experiences change to be memories. And our whole person or our whole self is built based on those memories and those genetic proclivities. That's what we have evidence of. Now, in order for you to be manifested again, or rather reincarnated again in another body, you need to be, of course, something rather than pure matter, which we observe to be wrong. A person's self or character changes just because his brain changes. We are nothing but the nervous system. Upon brain injury, a lot of people display a shift in character, a shift in psychological proclivities. If that doesn't tell you materialism, I don't know what it tells you. Get back to the point. Now, if I were to die personally and get reincarnated again, I need to have the same set amount, not the amount, but the same kind or type of DNA that I'm having right now to emerge after reincarnation. I need it to emerge. Then I need all my memories to be printed in my body then. If I have the same genetics and I have the same memories, plus the memory of me dying included, because you need to have all the specific memories. If you just take one memory, you risk changing me, even though we know that the self is getting changed with more and more memories involved, because memories simply form the very database that we use to make decisions. We need to include all the memories, plus the genetics, and also the memory of me dying. We need to get the whole person. We cannot risk any type of character shift just because we have taken out a single memory, even if it looks or sounds very trivial. So, in order for reincarnation to be true, all of those things should be wrong. In order for reincarnation to be true, materialism should be incorrect. And as technology and the advancement of the medicine field, we have seen that people are nothing but brain. And this is very much tested in neuroscience. The event of compiling me, again, my own set of DNA, my own unique set of DNA, is highly unlikely, because DNAs in every bit of person are just like fingerprints. They are very unique to each individual. Plus, you need to get all the memories and put them in that brain. It is only then, when I start breathing, I would be, not I, but the person, it is I. Okay? It's simply I would be definitely reincarnated then. I would feel as though I have died and rise again. But would we say that that person, when we gather DNA, when we genetically engineer your DNA in a lab and form you and give you the total amount of like 26 years as my age to be developed as a man, as an adult human being. For example, we just plug you with a computer which just downloads to your brain, to that brain, all your memories, all your 26 years of memories. Is that person you, Or is it an identical copy of you? I would say that person is definitely me. Because me is when the uniqueness of DNA and memories. If I'm conscious, I will feel as though I have died and raised again. I believe if technology really advanced, if we could, for example, take somebody's DNA sample and could grow it into a baby, even though it sounds far-fetched, but a lot of things were far-fetched back in ancient times, but look at we now. And we could grow it in a baby, just take your DNA and could grow you and form you as a baby and just jump this baby into time, just make the baby 26 years of age in a quick time and having a computer uploading all your memories to your brain. And upon your first breath, it would seem as though you have been knocked out, kidnapped, and were brought to that medical facility. And the scientists would keep on telling you that they made you just yesterday, but you would never want to believe it. Because it sounds for you impossible. It sounds ridiculous. This sounds more like the theory of last Tuesdaysism, that the whole universe was actually created just last Tuesday, and your whole memories, even though you feel that those memories are very old, they were imprinted in you just last Tuesday. In religion, when you have to make people do something, you have to reward them by something. People are to be controlled either by love or by fear. If you want them to not do acts, simply tell them that God says so. You want them not to eat pork or steal, God says so. If, for example, you want men to wage wars in your favor, tell them that they would have 72 virgins when they die. They can definitely not test that. They can definitely not see whether what you say, what you're claiming is correct or not. But their greed is making them blind, whether you want them to do something or not do something. Fear and pleasure are your biggest allies. How many people are dead just because they thought that they would be reunited with a divine being, realizing their wishes after they die? How many people led a righteous life just they are afraid to get reincarnated in a poor, painful physical existence like a stray dog or something? Religion is brainwashing. As much as its prophets cannot reward you in the here and now, they manipulate you into believing that the great reward awaits you when you die. They know definitely that when you die, you will find nothing. You will not be. You will cease to exist. But would you be back to hunt them? Of course not. This particular metaphysical claim cannot be tested and cannot be falsified. So it becomes subject to either the greed of the people to get to heaven, or either of the fear from the people to go to hell. Using pleasure and pain, basic Machiavellian tactic that relies on the fear and the greed and stupidity of people. People who claim that we are actually souls, when you talk with them, when you discuss with them or debate them, if we were souls, how could we not have memories of our previous lives? How could we not have memories before we have taken this physical form? Do you know what they tell you? That what they're saying is actually correct. And you didn't have physical form before you came to this world. Or you had been through other lives, like as we have seen in the three major Indian religions. But you have just forgot. Brainwashed themselves. They try also to brainwash you by supporting a metaphysical claim with another metaphysical claim. The first claim equals zero because it's grounded on no evidence. The other claim that's put there to support it also is zero because there is no evidence. So on and so forth. All in all, they keep on multiplying entities defying Occam's razor, forming a pile of zeros that never amount to one. Thanks again for watching, and see you in the next one.